Dear members of the International Society for Education Through Art, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to congratulate and express my gratitude to InSEA and to Anjou Normal University for organizing this important forum that actually resonates with UNESCO's soft power mandate and vision of education. I mean, in a world which is increasingly fragile, vulnerable, complex, advancing the role of arts and culture in education is a pathway to really strengthening peace, to put it very simply, to understanding our shared heritage and humanity, to nurturing creativity. And this is kind of a core of UNESCO mandate. It's a bulwark against the narratives that seek to divide and to exclude, against the scourge of prejudice, racism, and violence that is being fueled on social media more than ever. InSEA made a timely contribution, in my opinion, to our Futures of Education report that, as you maybe know, calls for a new social contract for education to reimagine our futures with the mark of plural together. It calls curricula that are more intercultural and new pedagogies that are more collaborative so that students learn actually to work and live together, and through this process, through these innovations, to transform the world with empathy and compassion that the world needs. As the only UN agency with a core mandate in education and culture, UNESCO is in a unique position to advance culture as a necessary building block of 21st century education. Together, art and education can expand learners' knowledge, skills, capacities to appreciate first cultural diversity and mostly to shape resilient, inclusive, and peaceful societies. We are currently revising the landmark recommendation on education for international understanding, peace, and human rights, which was first adopted by member states in 1974 to take into account contemporary, that time, challenges and needs. And this work includes understanding and appreciating diversity, as well as developing a form of empathy, self-confidence, and most importantly, in my opinion, openness to different kind of perspectives. Creativity is very much linked to these values. I'm pleased to see the focus of this year's forum on mapping education through art. Learning about and through culture and arts fosters appreciation of cultural diversity as a positive force. It can stimulate creativity and ingenuity, and it can also strengthen freedom of expression, which is another important part of UNESCO mandate. While equally, culturally sensitive education nurtures civic engagement and creates the foundation, the right conditions to make our societies more cohesive and tolerant. So it's about democracy, it's about a peaceful society. When mainstreamed in formal education, arts can enhance the development of critical thinking as well as interpersonal skills and socio-emotional well-being. And it's about empowering people to participate in democratic processes. So actually it's about the freedom of choice. UNESCO is supporting member states, as you know, to integrate culture and the arts in educational planning, as well as to systematically integrate pedagogical approaches in cultural institutions and culture-related activities. These efforts are put into practice in programs such as Living Heritage in Education, Heritage in Young Hands, and the role of museum, of course, as sites of learning and not simply places where you go to see the beauty around us. Sensitivity to arts and culture, including indigenous cultures, of course, and ways of knowing, is also embedded in our programs on education for sustainable development and global citizenship education, what we call in our SDG 4 language 4.7, two sides of the same coin, to say. Well, the revised global framework of action on culture and arts education that UNESCO has been mandated to develop by 2030 builds upon these programs. And 2023 will be an intermediate important step in this process. It will provide what? Forward-looking guidelines, tools for member states to integrate culture-related dimensions and new contents into schools, and also take into account the importance of what we call extracurricular activities, what is not exactly, the traditional transmission of knowledge about arts and history of art. And including, of course, non-formal education, that in many countries is the most prominent dimension, and lifelong learning, that it's actually the SDG 4 added value. Well, more than ever, we need collaboration. We need a join up approach to make this happen on the ground, to open minds, to value creativity, to give learners everywhere and anytime they need an appreciation of their own culture and the extraordinary mosaic of humanity's artistic expressions. I really look forward to our future cooperation on this kind of transformative journey.